Since my last two videos were both pretty labor intensive working out in the garden, I wanted to do something different this time, and I actually would love to walk you around my garden. It's early spring, things are changing, and I want to show you some of those goodies. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, just to ensure that my videos keep showing up in your feed. We are going to actually flip the camera around today so I can walk and point and show you all the goodies that I have happening, and we can get really encouraged that spring is on its way. This area here is what I like to call my rock garden, and the rock garden is changing. Most recently, I did a video about something called microclimates. If you are not familiar, microclimates are just small little areas in your garden, on your property that have different, maybe sun exposure, wind exposure. And right here is a fabulous example of something that is doing awesome thanks to a microclimate. So the boulder that I have here is retaining heat. And because of that, this lanai twister pink trailing verbena is doing awesome right up against it. Whereas if you look in front of it, not so much. So between the verbena and of course the creeping moss phlox is one of my favorite things, especially early on in the spring, because it starts to creep around all my rocks. And I just love it because it gives you that color that you've been longing for all winter. The sunshine ligustrum is looking okay. It's starting to get some new foliage on it, so at least it's leafing out more beautifully, because in the winter it gets a little bit sparse. I'm all right with that because I understand. It's got to go through these changes. And then over here next to this creeping moss phlox, we have the muscari, or grape hyacinth. Also adorable and just makes you feel really good when that starts popping out. In the front of the rock garden here, this is some dianthus, and I just had picked dianthus for my flower bed in my front yard. Again, those are the last two videos. And I had mentioned that even though dianthus says that it's an annual, it is not an annual here for me. And so we're just walking slowly to the other side of my rock garden, where I have more dianthus, again, that had been labeled as annual, and has been green. The foliage got a little bit spotty during the winter, but it mostly stayed green. Now look at all these amazing buds, all these little tiny buds everywhere. So the dianthus is awesome. Love it. And I also love the sedum. I say that all the time. Same deal. Creeps around all the rocks, which means I don't have to buy as much mulch. Directly across the backyard from the rock garden is this garden, which I have never named. But what I wanted to say what's happening over here is, so I have these daylilies right here, and I don't know about you when you take off the old foliage on your daylilies, but I usually wait until like this time of year. But it is one of the most satisfying things to do. It comes off so easily and then starts to make your plant look fresh and new. And really, this plant is so stinking tough and hardy. I probably don't need to leave this foliage on here through the cold weather for protection, but that's just my mindset. That is what I do. But oh my gosh, that is so satisfying. Now right beside it is that red cordyline. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. In years past, I could have sworn that the foliage did stay red, and then like last year or whatever, maybe it was the year before, we had a deep freeze and I knew the foliage had all died back like this, and then the plant came back. Everything grew right out from the center, stayed big just like this, so it was fine. This year, we had a freezing cold January into February and all of that, so I'm wondering if it's just the same thing. I'm not worried that it's dead. I just wanted to point out it's interesting. And then looking to the other side of this garden, same thing. So I have some daylilies here, and it's going to be awesome taking off all that dead foliage. I have some of the grape muscari or the grape hyacinth starting to kind of creep down this hill. Like if you dig this up, it's actually little tiny bulbs under here. And it's like once the bulbs begin to just kind of spread around, they show up everywhere. Let's see if I can dig one up with my hand or not. This is it. Almost like you feel like onion grass, right? Similar look. As I look up, I can see that my azaleas are just beginning to set their buds too, which is awesome. This azalea is an early spring bloomer, usually April. My daffodils are open, but unfortunately, I made the mistake here of also not planting a big enough grouping, so it's not a fabulous show. But this year, I'm changing all of that. Right behind my daffodils, I have a hardy perennial hibiscus. Now, this one is the Texas Red Star hibiscus, but someone recently asked about pruning the hardy hibiscus, so I wanted to talk about that right here. This one is just like the other ones. Like I have Luna Rose hibiscus, same sort of deal. You're left at the end of the growing season with these woody stalks, but for any of your perennial hibiscus, they are going to just start growing right out of the bottom of the plant. So you can actually cut these stalks all the way down to the ground. I typically don't cut mine back until I start to see the new growth, but that's just my preference. Staying in the backyard, but just walking toward my secret garden, I just wanted to show the other perennial hibiscus that I have over here, which are these two tall stalks right here. Same deal. Just all this wood can be cut down because the growth is only going to start from the bottom. So we're safe to cut that back. The only thing I really have going for me over here is that green yucca. It is getting massive, but I do love the shape of it, and it's so different from everything else that's near it, so that's cool. This is my mangave. I had gotten the Pineapple Express mangave, and I took the pups from it and brought those indoors for the winter. This is like on a line. I live on a line of where the hardiness zone is for it. Once all this foliage started to look like this, I thought, uh-oh, shoot, maybe I should have covered what I left outside. But you see, I have new mangave growing underneath. So I think I'm going to leave this foliage on here now just until our threat of frost is completely gone, because my thought is that will protect the green growth underneath. This is a golden sword yucca, two babies there. So the yellow golden sword yucca does turn red or get some red tint to its foliage in the winter. And because these are babies, they are showing even more red as compared to this green yucca right next to it, which is just a baby of the parent plant that I just showed you from the other side that stays green all winter. So my blue boardwalk is right there, and then my lemon coral sedum sits to this side, right behind my pool's waterfall. And I think I have another microclimate in the works here as well, because look how rich and luscious. It's like plump growth right here along the stones, which is we're probably retaining the heat for it as compared to the growth that's up on top. So I'll do some clipping back of that. This sucker grows like wildfire for me though, so I really have no concerns at all about clipping it back. Once it starts growing, it's just awesome. The autumn joy sedum is also coming back. I have it in a few different spots, and right now it's looking like it's going to do well here, so we'll see about that. Then, of course, those are canna lilies right there. So until it gets consistently warm, we won't really see any new growth on that. As little shoots begin to come up, like this one right here, I can see another one right here, they'll be there because days have gotten warm, but they will die back if it gets too cold again, probably below 50 degrees. And then that's just some creeping Jenny, which I just keep around everywhere so I can use it as a pot draper. Inside my greenhouse, things change like by the day. Everything is really itching to come out of here. And in fact, what's happening now is I'm starting to see aphids return on my hibiscus. And it's super annoying. I hate aphids. Oh my gosh, they really attack my hibiscus in the greenhouse. But to be honest with you, the smell of neem oil now makes me sick because I have used it in the greenhouse before and it almost makes me want to gag. So I will be using another method to get rid of those. I'm propagating lots of ivy from my mom's ivy that she had given me because I want to use this as a pot draper as well when I make some new arrangements, or potentially for the live wall that I would like to create in my shade garden, probably with coleus this year. I also have things like this autumn joy sedum growing in here just for fun, so I have it. I have sweet potato vines growing in certain places just so I have it. These are some of the tubers that I had started in the soil earlier on. So I have a couple of Dahlia Tahiti sunrises, and that's one of the Canna Wyomings. And then, of course, you know, I have tons and tons of begonias in here and geraniums in here, canna lilies. Oh my gosh, I have so many other beautiful things as well. As we walk into the front yard, this is, of course, the flower bed that I was working on in the front that features my beautiful willow in the center there. And then all the beautiful annual color that I have, including the pink dianthus, again, not annual. And as we go slowly looking this direction, there's not a lot of freshening up or good things to see. However, I think I'm going to be putting another golden sword yucca over here because I have so many babies. But incidentally, now that I mention that, I am going to be part of a plant swap that is in Havelock, North Carolina on April 26th. And so the idea is plants that we can propagate in our gardens, bring them with you and trade them for things that other people are bringing. So I'm thinking my other little pups of my golden sword yucca are going to be some of the items that I bring, among many other things. April 26th. So this is my beautiful garden easel where the violas are still looking awesome and colorful. My snapdragons have mainly gone to seed up there, so I got to take care to deadhead those babies so we can get more of that color. And then I just have to freshen up the nandina that serves as like the background color. We're going to add some more of that as well. Just behind the easel, you can see my loropetalum bushes, and they are beginning to flower. They're magenta fringe flowers, so I love that. As we make our way to the front walkway, obviously you can still see how gorgeous that decorative cabbage is, and it's growing its little pups out of the bottom as we've seen before, which you can cut off and reroot. And then behind it, you get that little tiny hint of hot pink. So this is another trailing verbena that is flowering, I want to say sort of sporadically. Right beside it though, speaking of the nandina, which I was saying I use the cuttings of as like the backdrop of my garden easel, I have a few nandinas right up in the front. These were things that the builder had put in originally, so I wasn't even familiar with them. But again, I love how they are evergreen and get red in the colder weather. My front porch is not decorated yet, and it has been so extremely windy that I have taken like my wreath and everything down. But I have two more regal geraniums similar to the ones that I put into the ground but different color scheme, and then these gorgeous hydrangeas. So these are going to be potted up into some arrangements coming up soon. So as we look at the peninsula garden, there is really not a lot of nice things to see in here. The golden sword yucca is like the only thing that's really standing out. We have a little tiny bits of green here with the mums and here with the daylilies popping up. But besides that, you can really see how messy things are looking right now. Two things I'm going to point out to you though. All this brown that you see all in here, that's my blanket flowers. Remember how I had a sea of blanket flowers in here last summer, and now this is what we're looking at for this time of year. So that's one thing. Another thing is Let's get up close and personal down here. This is new blanket flower growth right here. So when I see these all over the place in my yard or in this flower bed or whatever, I know those are going to be blanket flowers. These smaller bits of green, like all of these, are primrose. Now, again, the garden's looking real icky right now, but like as I just look to this rock right here, all of these green things that are growing around this rock is all going to be primrose. Probably the light pink one, which is called Twilight. So when I tell you these things are massive spreaders, you can really believe it, because this is all remnants of the blanket flowers. I can see more green of canna lily trying to poke up and tease its way through. And then this right here is the guara that always looks like beautiful foliage with like dancing pink butterflies around the top. So I'll cut back this dead growth now. And then right here, you can see more green because it's daylilies. And then of course, my awesome magnolia tree. My island of misfit toys right now on the outside of the fence also looks very, very sad. The best part of it is the fact that I stained the fence, what, maybe a month ago now? So the fence is looking good, but whew, got a lot of work to do out here and then a lot more waking up to do. Of course, lemon coral sedum trying to make its way back around the blue rock. We have another golden sword yucca. That juniper needs to get into the ground, and then next to it is the red nandina. So bits of color, bits of things. Some of the phlox out here coming to life, and then some of the daffodils beginning to open up as well. But boy, we need some help out here. More daylilies. Oh my gosh, work. This isn't really enjoyable, so I should probably stop showing you. So the scoop is this: we got a little bit of good stuff happening. We see the amount of work that we still have to do, and then other things are still waiting a while to wake up. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Ooh, I can see my Eastern Baccharis is really beginning to leaf out. So I can see what I have to clip on him too. Remember, this is the guy that got all the pollinators. I think that was in like October, because it was one of the things that the pollinators were being really attracted to at a time when the flowers were kind of going away. So that's really cool. It's nice to see it greening up, and gosh, this baby's big. So we got, like I said, a mixed bag of good and oh my gosh, the work is daunting. But remember our greenhouse chats when you start to walk around your gardens. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. Try not to get overwhelmed or think you have to tackle everything all at once. Maybe you don't have to show people your garden like I do. And so it's going to be okay if you really just take your time getting through it. Don't break your back, all that kind of good stuff. Thanks for taking the stroll with me today. I know it's not like gorgeous. I really like to wait and say garden tour when there are gorgeous, gorgeous things happening. So that's probably going to be in the start of April. But hey, we're getting excited now. Official spring is on its way. So that's all good stuff. Until next time, you guys, happy planting.